the role of the strategy in organization design, we will be talking about that is how to design the organization with the what will be the appropriate strategy will be there. So, strategic direction is very important. Now, here we will talk about that is the how the SWOT analysis of the organization has to be done. When you are making the SWOT analysis of the organization, then the mission statement is there, and in the mission statement you will find that is a strategic intent is to be there, the competitive advantage of making the strategies, operating goals are there, design essentials we will talk about, and as usual we will talk about case study, research papers and the book recommendations and references. Now, when we talk about the strategy in the organization design, so mission defines strategy and strategy defines the structure is there. I have in the beginning of the sessions we have talk about the missions, that is the vision and mission of the organization is very important, and whenever any organization which gives the mission or vision, then definitely the whole organization works on that particular strategy, and as the mission is very clear, then similarly the strategies will be giving you the structure, that what is required to be the structure is to be there. Now, this strategy formulation, it is an art. Everybody cannot make these the particular these strategies or the just designing the organization is there. It requires then the understanding of the organizational goal. Once you understand the vision of the organization, the goal of the organization, then definitely it will making the a reach to the what actions are to be taken. A goal represents a result or the end point towards which organization efforts are directed. For example, many organizations they want to be the sustainable, flexible and growth. All the three factors they carry. Certain organizations they talk about only growth. Certain organizations they talk only about that is what will be the productivity. So, therefore, in that case it depends on the organizational goal, that is what is the goal of the organization is. The top executives normally decide the end purpose of the organization that will strive for and determine the direction it will take to accomplish it. So, the primary responsibility of the top management is to determine an organization's what will be the goal, strategy, design and adopting the organization to a changing environment is there. Here in the role of strategic direction in this the organization design, first and foremost it is every time you have to consider the external environment. When you consider the external environment, so that you can find out that what are the opportunities are there. In the external environment, the technology is changing, and whatever the technology do you have, will it create an opportunity or a technology is a threat, that you have to decide. So, therefore, in that case in the environment of the uncertainty, because in the external environment nowadays also we see that is you never know that is what will be the economic status at the global level, maybe the economic recession can be there, or the economic supports are less, or there are the physical conditions are making tough. So, therefore, in that case that in these all situations the resources availability that will be very difficult. So, man, machine, I always talk about that is we should not forget that is in the designing of the organization the resources are the man, machine, material. Like here when we are talking about the external environmental factors, the material availability that will be a big question. So, when we are talking about and normally the organizations are concerned with the money. So, main, machine, material, money are the basically the 4 M's were there, but now the research has talked about that is if you want to make the a strategy for the sustainability of the organization, then your methods are very important, right, and these methods are to be adopted timely, and that is why it is called the minutes are there. These 6 M's which are designing this type of this the whatever these strategies are to be there. So, in external environment and this resource availability, whatever the resource is there, please ensure that is the you are having all these resources into considerations. When you are having these resources into consideration, and that will give you that the strategic intent. But it is not only the external environment. The external environment has to be matched with the internal situations are there. So, when you talk about the opportunities and threats from the external environment, then you have to also consider your strength and weaknesses from the inside, and this can be considered on the basis of these resources. So, your manpower, the education of manpower, technical skill of the manpower, your methods, what are your methods are there. As you change the methods, nowadays we are talking about these industry 4.0, and if you talk about the industry 4.0, so your methods will be more dependent on the technology. So, you will be machine learning, artificial intelligence and all. So, therefore, in that case, what is your strength? So, are you strong into these artificial intelligence and are not, and therefore, in that case you will find it will be difficult. Similarly, the distinctive competence. Now, in the businesses, you have to understand what is your USP, what exactly you are competing. It is the brand which you are competing. In my previous session, I have talked about the Xerox corporation, and in the Xerox also. So, once upon a time, Xerox was the synonyms for the copying. So, therefore, in that case it is but with the period of time you have seen that what is the fate of the Xerox is there. So, therefore, distinct competence that you have to develop. The new technologies which have been introduced and new environment, business environment which has been the influencing your business, and that has to be realized by the leaders. And in the organization design, those who are at the top, that is what is their leadership style. So, if their leadership style is a participative style, their leadership style is a collaborative style is there. We have talked in the previous session, that is whenever we are talking about the collaboration rather than the giving just only the directions. So, therefore, in that case it is what is the leadership style is there, in your internal strength is there. Many organizations, they have been revived. Many organizations, they were into the good conditions, but because of the leadership style was not appropriate, and organizations have been closed. So, therefore, your internal situations, that becomes very, very important is there. Now, you have to also see the trend analysis. Normally, whenever we talk about the research, organizational research, and then always we talk about the trend is there for any particular variable or a particular dimension, that is we see the past performance, that is how this has been challenged to the society, and what is the current status and what is the future is there. So, therefore, in that case always we have to see in the internal situation how we have performed, and therefore, in that case, yes, I agree, in few cases there are the miracles, but miracles do not happen every day. So, therefore, in that case we have to understand that is what is the past performance is there. In designing the organization structure, you have to consider external environment and the internal situations. You have to identify the opportunities and threats. You have to also understand what resources you are having, and these resources, are you able to make this sure, that is the how your resources are going to making the proper utilizations. Similarly, your internal situations are there. In internal situations, your strengths and your weaknesses you have to examine, and then find out what was your past performance and how the leaders have responded to that particular environment is there. These informations about the external environment and the internal situation, and that will create your intention, that is called the strategic intent. And this strategic intent, on the basis of your input, you will define the mission and the official goals are there. The end result, what is the goal? Goal is the end result. So, that end result will define about what is your strategic intent was there. So, select the operational goals and the competitive strategies. So, therefore, in that case the goals which are to be decided on the basis of your the analysis, external and internal, then you are going to be deciding the operational goals are there, and then what will be your competitive strategy in the market. So, sometimes it has been seen, for especially in the case of the many FMCG companies, that is the sachets have been introduced, and therefore, those sachets that has become the competitive strategy is there. Now, These organization on the basis of their goals, they will decide a strategic intent, and as per the strategic intent they will design the organization. For example, learning versus efficiency is there. I have talked about the learning organizations, and in the learning organizations learn from the environment and they respond, they become flexible, they become adaptive is there. So, every organization which is the good learner, which is the flexible, adaptive, faster, timely. So, therefore, in that case that will creating these particular the efficiency also. If you are faster learner, your efficiency will increase. If your organization is having the slow response to the changes and not developing, and then in that case you will find that is there will be these efficiency has to be improved. The information and the control systems are there. So, therefore, in that case you will find that is whatever the information you are having, free flow of information, and that will decide the organization design. And where is the free flow of information? In vertical or horizontal? Yes, you are right, in the horizontal. So, therefore, this information which will be the free flow and the control system, that is from top to bottom, right. So, in the organization design you have to ensure minimum control and maximum flow of information. What will be your production technology? And therefore, in that case if your production technology is more autonomous, more technology based, then your number of manpower will be less. So, your organization design will totally change. And finally, it is about the your manpower and the organization culture is there. So, whatever the manpower you are having, skilled, semi-skilled, unskilled, what is your nature organizations, what are the manpower you require more. When you are talking about the industries like the OYO is there, when you are talking about the Ola, Uber, or when this type of these service industries, or when you are comparing with the your manufacturing industries, big automobile industries, then you will find that is it becomes very different structure of the human resource and policies and incentives are there. So, your organization structure designing will totally change. When nowadays we are talking about the gig workers, gig economy. So, therefore, in that case these inter-organizational linkages that will become very important. So, we have to, this organization design will depend on the what is the stage of the organization, what is the information and control system they want to adopt, and that will be decided by the top management. What is the organization's production technology, human resources, culture, and the linkages are there. Now, when you are having the appropriate organization design, you will have the effectiveness outcomes are there. Dear friends, those who are experts in organization design, definitely their goal attainment, maximization of the resources and high efficiency will be there. So, those who are the good strategies adopted by the organizations in the designing this particular structure of the organization, and that depends on, so external environmental analysis and the internal situation. And therefore, if you are a good analyst, if you are good analyst for the external environment and internal situation, then definitely you will find that is there is a strategic intent will be developed, and your organization's effectiveness and outcomes that will be very important, and you will be achieving your organizational goals. The direction setting typically begins with an assessment of the opportunities and threats in the external environment, and including the amount of change, uncertainty and resource availability is there. Top managers also assess internal strengths and weaknesses to define the company's distinctive, and the analysis of these is one of the central concept in the strategic management is there. Now, when we talk about these strengths, weakness, opportunities and threats, the SWOT analysis is there. So, what is the strength? The strength is the things your company does well. So, whatever the work you are doing, and then your companies are doing in a very extreme well situations. So, therefore, then we will say it is our strength is there. Qualities that separate you from your competitors. So, that impact factor, you see, that impact factor of your product. So, if your impact factor of your product is higher, very simple example I will give and that is about the washing powders. So, you will find there is a huge competition amongst the washing powders are there, and some brands are they are putting in the example I would like to give, that is some brands are putting that is our washing powder is more efficient for the top loaded washing machine. Some washing powders are saying that we are very good into the side loaded washing machine is there. So, therefore, in that case so specific. If it is becoming so specific, then in that case you have to understand that is the what is your quality that separates from others, and this is my footprint, this is my impact, product impact, and therefore and nobody can stand before you, and that is called this quality impact, that is your strength is there. Now, when we talk about the IT industries, so here skilled knowledgeable staff, human capital, it is called the human capital. So, whether you are into the pharmaceutical industries or you are into knowledge based organizations. So, when you are talking about the knowledge based organizations, you are talking about the pharmaceutical industries, you are talking about the IT industries, and here it becomes your how much skilled is your manpower. Higher is the skilled is your manpower, knowledgeable staff, your knowledge level is 5, this KM level is there. So, KM level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 means the highest knowledge level of employees are there, then definitely that is your strength. And the tangible assets such as intellectual property, capital, proprietary technologies, etc. is there. So, therefore, the patents which you have, right, or that is the intellectual capital, already I mentioned, that is intellectual capital is having the actually the organizational capital, human capital, or that is called the social capital and the market capital. So, therefore, in that case what is your assets are there. So, these tangible assets which are creating the intellectual property is the biggest strength of your organization. In the previous model, when the strategies designs are to be there, we have talked about that is the how your human resource are the more impactful into the organization. If your resource availability is highly impactful, then definitely that is your strength. Now, but every organization is not the perfect, like the no one is perfect, similarly the organizations cannot be perfect. So, organization with the strengths will also have certain lacks. So, that you have to understand where you are lacking, things your competitors do better than you. You have to also understand the impact factor of your competitor, why it is high, why into your competition. They are into your competition means yes, their impact factor is also equal. So, therefore, resource limitations generate the resources and the unclear unique selling proposition USP. So, therefore, you do not know, somebody asks you what is your USP, how you are different from others, why should you be selected, why you should be given this assignment, what is you. So, one should know that is what is my strength and what is my weakness, and then he has to improve on weakness, and when he will improve on weakness definitely the impact factor will be, impression management will be higher. Similarly, for the organization, when you are designing an organization you should know that is the what is my strength and what is my weakness, because this will create the opportunities are there. So, undeserved market for the specific products are there. So, that will be the opportunity. Few competitors in your area. So, you find in my area there are very few competitors who can stand with me. The emerging need for your products or the services are there. With the period of time, the many products those have become obsolete. So, therefore, it becomes very important whether your products are the needed or they are not needed, like the pager was there, pager is now no needed is there. So, landline phones were there, now there is no technology for the is there. So, therefore, in that case with the changes in the environment, changes in the technology, you will find that is your product or services are required or not required. And this also the press and media coverage of your company, how social media especially your impression is, how do you exist, and if you are having the proper existence, so then you are having that opportunities. Then there are certain threats are there, and these threats are the emerging competitors, and therefore in that case you will find that these are the emerging competitors which are the always threat is there. So you have to be always on toes, you have to be the best, always to be best, but best cannot be always remain to be the best, so efforts are to be made. Changing the regulatory environment are there, and you see that is the government rules, regulations, the environmental regulatories, social regulatories, the technical regulatories, legal regulatories especially. So therefore that will be a threat, laws will be keep on changing, and then you have to manage your resources accordingly. Negative press or the media coverage is there, or the changing customer attitude towards your company, and therefore one image is created of the product. So if it is the image is not the best, then definitely it will take time. So to avoid this you should be very clear that is you are able to create your image to your customers, that is what you are. Here a sample of the SWOT analysis is there: strong financial position, competent workforce, quality products are there, effective leadership, and reputable is there. And the opportunities are the growth of the existing market, untapped markets, facilities from the government, decreased sales of the substitute products are there, and new technologies are there. So these are the opportunities are there. The weakness is the inability to meet the demand, company location, high turnover rate, out of date equipment, high unit cost is there. A new lower cost competitor is there, that is a threat, and therefore indicate shortage of the manpower, economic issues, new costly regulations, rising material price is there. So therefore in this case you have to decide the strategies, that what will be your strategies are there. So all organizations including the Fusey, eBay, Philips Electronics, Google, Harvard University, the Catholic Church, the US Department of Agriculture, the local laundry, and the neighborhood deli exist for a purpose is there. Organizational goal is there. The purpose may be referred to as the overall goal or a mission, and different parts of this organization establishes their own goals and objectives to help meet the overall goal, mission, or the purpose of the organization is there. So what is the strategic intent? So all the organization's energies and resources are directed towards a focused, unifying, and the compelling overall goal is there. So strategic intent provides a focus for management action. Three aspects related to the strategic intent are the mission, core competence, and competitive advantage is there. So mission, competitive advantage, and core competence is the operating goal. Overall performance, resources, market, employee development, innovation and change, and the productivity is there, and that will be about the strategic intent will be there. The mission is the overall goal for an organization, and that is the mission, and the organization's reason for existence is there, that why organization should run, and the mission describes the organization's shared values and beliefs and its reason for being existence is there. So mission is sometimes called the official goals, which refers to the formally stated definition of business scope and outcomes of the organization is trying to achieve. One of the primary purpose of a mission statement is to serve as a communication tool, and the mission statement communicates to current and prospective employees, customers, investors are there, suppliers, competitors, what the organization stands for and what is trying to achieve is there, and therefore this is the primary purpose of a mission statement, which is to be served as a communication tool is there. Now mission statements, for example, for the Messias Saving Bank is to be exceptional in every relationship, product developed in every service rendered, and every promise made is there. So to be the excellent, to provide the most exceptional banking experience in the state of the man. So and principles driven to be the best. So to be the best, we must look through the lens of the customer to deliver the best products and services in a cost effective way is there. So therefore in that case actually it is the perception of customer, you are the best, right? Who should say that you are the best? Not yourself are saying that is I am the best. No, it is the other should say that you are the best is to be there. Build a winning performance culture, and to create a winning performance culture we need to first operate with the highest standards of integrity. They execute as one together. We will focus on a consistent strong financial performance during the good times and the bad times are there. So competitive advantage, that is as I mentioned, that is high skilled workers are there, gaining exclusive access to the new technologies, therefore you are developing new technologies are there. Then the offering the unique products or services, USP, gaining exclusive access to the proprietary of the technologies are there. Cost leadership strategy, that is nowadays has become a very buzzword. That is your leadership is the cost effective or not. If your leadership is cost effective, you will remain competitive. This strategy necessarily changes over time to fit environmental conditions. As I mentioned, that is the strategies for a period of time, but as the environment changes, organizations are flexible and competitive, and the good managers, they pay close attention to trends that might require the changes in how the company operates, and therefore the managers analyze the competitors and the internal and external environment to find the potential competitive openings and learn what new capabilities the organization needs to gain the upper hand against the companies in the industries are there. So, unless and until if you do not have any USP, you do not have any upper hand, then in that case it will be very difficult for the survival. The survival of the organization, that will become a big question. So, core competencies, a company's core competence is something the organization does especially well in comparison to its competitors. A core competency may be in the area of superior research and development, expect the technological know-how or the process is very specific, efficiency are exceptional, customer services. At Apple, the strategy focuses on the superior design and the marketing skills are there. So, therefore, in that case it depends on the every organization what core competence they want to develop. Now, the operating goals. The organization's missions and overall goals provide a basis for developing more specific operating goals, and operating goals designing the ends sought through the actual operating procedure of the organization and explain what the organization is actually trying to do. So, therefore, productivity goals, innovation and change in goals are there, employee development goals, resource goals, market goals and the overall performance goal is there. So, ultimately your overall performance goal that is required to be strong. Typical operating goals that define what an organization is trying to accomplish. So, that include the performance goals, resource goals, market goals, employee development goals, productivity goals and goals for the innovation and change is there. These overall performance profitability reflects the for profit organizations. Profitability may be expressed in terms of the net income, earnings per share or return on investment. Other overall performance goals are growth and the output volume is there. Resources goals pertain to the acquisition of needed material and financial resources from the environment. They may involve obtaining financial for the construct of the new plants, finding less expensive sources for the raw materials, and therefore in that case it is hiring the top quality technology graduates that is become the very important resources are there. For example, Starbucks recently formed an alliance with the India's Tata Group to obtain the Indian premium Arabic coffee beans for use in the Starbucks stores. Eventually, the alliance will also enable Starbucks to find the prime locations for outlets in India, which can also be considered valuable resource is there. So, this is becoming the very important operating goal. When we talk about the market, market goals are related to the market share or the market standing desired by the organizations. So, market goals are largely the responsibility of the marketing, sales and the advertising departments. Example is this L'Oreal, the world's largest cosmetic company, has a goal of doubling its current clients, adding the 1 billion consumers by the 2020. As one step to achieve the goal, managers are making changes in marketing and the selling approaches designed to win over the customers in Brazil. So, the productivity goals concern the amount of output achieved from the available resources, and they typically describe the amount of resources inputs required to reach desired outputs and are thus started in terms of the cost for a unit of production. A unit produced per employee, a resource cost per employee is there. Innovation and change. The innovation goal pertains to the internal flexibility and readiness to with respect to the development of the specific new services, products and the introduction processes are there. For example, Procter & Gamble. So, Procter & Gamble started a program called the Connect One in 2001 with a goal of getting the 50% of the company's innovation and through the collaboration and people and organizations outside the company by 2010. The goal then they represented an increase from about 35% in 2004 and only 10 2000. The ambitious goal was met and exceeded, resulting in innovations such as the where the Swiffer dusters, Olay Regignant and Mr. Clean Magic Eraser is there, and here the Procter & Gamble that got the success. Employee development, it pertains to the training, promotion, safety, growth of the employees. It includes both managers and workers. So, therefore, the strong employee development goals are there, then definitely in that case it will show that is in the Fortune magazine's list of 100 best companies to work for, and that is also about a particular branding. So, in conclusion, what I can say, there is a design essentials. Organizations exist for a purpose. Top managers and the organization's strategic intent including a specific mission to accomplish, and the mission statement or the official goals makes the explicit the purpose and direction of an organization. Two other aspects related to the strategic intent are the competitive advantage and the core competence. The competitive advantage refers so that what the organization apart from the others and provide it with a distinctive edge. A core competence is something the organization does extremely well compared to the competitors. Strategies may include any number of the techniques to achieve the stated goals. The two models for formulating strategies are the Porter's competitive strategies and the Mills and this no strategy typology is there. Organization design needs to fit from the competitive approaches to contribute to the organizational effectiveness is there. This is the case study which you can refer the Madras Cement Limited, and you can find out that is the how the company's information system that each at the plants was very different from each other, what changes they have made, what system they have developed, and as a result of which you will find whether the organization has developed that particular success or not. This is the research paper, how organizational structure and strategic alignment influence the new product success is there. In this paper they re-examine the role of the organization level determines from the perspective of the competitive based views. So, whether it is becoming the mechanistic structure or it is becoming the organic structure is there, that in this paper will talk about, and therefore, in that case you will find that is the how firm that has developed a particular aspect for their designing of the organizations are there. This is the book which you can refer, the strategic leadership, how to think and plan strategically and provide direction, and in this case you will find that is this particular strategic leadership book is talking about the renowned leadership experts. John Adair encourages leaders to focus on tomorrow rather than yesterday. It expresses the nature and origin of the strategic leadership, transferable skills and the art of inspiring others. It then describes the role that is what role of the managers that they have to play. These are the references for the further studies. Please go through these references, and you will find that is the how the organization design which we talk about is that has to be dependent on the nature of the organizations, the SWOT, the external environmental, internal environment and strategic intent. So, you will be able to develop the strategy for your organization. Thank you.